Start your engine!
Entering its 7th season, the Lapped Traffic Podcast has brought you over 300 shows, driver and media interviews, awesome stories and entertainment, and one of the coolest fantasy leagues around. Get ready for another exciting season. Sit back, relax, and try not to get lapped.
Now, here's your host, the Professor, Brendan Cross!
Hey! If any of you are looking for any last-minute gift ideas for me, I have one. I like Frank Shirley, my boss, right here tonight. I want him brought from his happy holiday slumber over there on Melody Lane with all the other rich people, and I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head. And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is. Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Oh, happy holidays, Lap Traffic Nation. Had to play that. I've played that every once in a while on the last show of the year. Didn't do it last year because it was episode 300, and, you know, that was unique in and of itself there. So, happy holidays. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and that everybody is getting ready for Christmas, New Year's, Black Friday, Cyber Monday today. How many purchases have you made? Oh, here we are. Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, as I said, hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I tell you what, it was a little downscaled for us this year. It was just my sister, brother-in-law, niece, and my in-laws over. But I smoked the most incredible spatchcock turkey. If you're like me, and as you guys, if you've been following a minute, know I like to share the meats, if you will, and that's all the rage on TikTok is, you know, any barbecue, you know, account or food prep, spatchcock. That's all anybody was talking about, and I'm like, you know what? I've smoked it, you know, traditional, if you will. Let's give it a whirl. Let's do it. So that's what we did, and I will not be going back. That is for sure. It was absolutely incredible. Did a herb butter that I made myself for the skin, under, over, some seasonings, all that good stuff, injections, and damn, that thing was good. So, yeah, that's that. And as I opened with Christmas Vacation quotes, which I'm sorry, that is the best Christmas movie, followed by, honestly, it's tie for me for number 2. It's either Elf or Christmas Story, and those are two very different movies, but I could watch either one of those. I've watched Christmas Vacation countless times, trying to get Alden to sit and watch it. Obviously, he has no clue what he's watching, but he does. I'm telling you. So he's 21 months old. Shared some pictures over the weekend, and this kid loves football. He says it in his own very unique way at such a young age, but he will sit and like watch, 15, 20 minutes just in my lap and not move. So Dad is very happy with that, and can't wait to see that continue to grow with football and NASCAR. And speaking of football, we had a debacle with the Lions on Thanksgiving. That's the, I think now, 7th straight year. All of the fanfare on Twitter with the horrible, in my opinion, halftime show with Jack Harlow. And I felt bad for him, to be honest with you. Like, that's the set you get, and Dolly Parton gets this grandiose stage like she's doing an actual full-fledged concert. But anyways, Friday, we did our annual trip, Friday and Saturday, actually, up to Frankenmuth, Michigan, Little Bavaria, as it's called, Christmas town. Alden saw Santa at the world's largest Christmas store at Bronner's and got the traditional, almost 2-year-old crying picture, which was great. And he's just getting so big, which is cool. It was fun to see him in the pool. all the Christmas lights, playing in the arcade. It was a great 2 days. Let's see. What else do I have for you on the personal side of things? From a job update, unfortunately, there really isn't much to update. But I kind of expected that this time of year. I had a couple calls with some recruiters last week. We'll see what happens from that. But what I will say is I am working on something behind the scenes to put together on my own as a little teaser for you, and we'll hopefully have an update for you on that either on Twitter or with the first show next year, something along those lines. So stay tuned there. So this is the last show of the year, the official last show of season 7. Can't believe 7 years of this is in the book after this posting. And I cannot thank you all enough for your continued support of listening and following. It truly means the world that you guys have continued to enjoy the content, as inconsistent as it may have been published this year. But, nonetheless, still a pretty solid year. Jeff Gluck kicked things off. NASCAR legend Derek Cope was on. Dan Wetzel from Yahoo Sports. We had a former NFL player, Mark McMillan, who's a big NASCAR fan. Alan Bestwick, Casey Kane, Helio Castroneves. We had the regulars in Brian Newdorf, Aaron Studwell, Dustin Albino, and Jeff Striegel. And, of course, the highlight for me personally was the sit-down interview with Kevin Harvick. So from that regard, solid year, which, again, it's all due to you guys following and listening and keeping the Lap Traffic podcast in the limelight, if you will, in this small little community of amateur NASCAR podcasters. So I can't thank you enough for that, and can't wait to see what next year holds out. Hopefully it's more than 26 shows. That much I do hope for. And what better way to close things out than to talk with some of you guys? So I've got some awesome calls scheduled here with some of the diehard Lap Traffic faithful, which is awesome. But first, we're going to kick things off with, one more time this year, I think I've said his last appearance twice now, so this is officially his last appearance, third time, just because we have to talk some Big Ten football, and of course we'll throw in some NASCAR, but it is the Dr. Aaron Studwell. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line with one of the best songs playing in the background, in my opinion. As I mentioned, I think I've said this is his last appearance. This is now the third time it's his last appearance. So welcome back to the podcast, the Dr. Aaron Studwell. Sir, how are you? Go Blue.
It's the Go Blue. It's the Race Weather farewell tour.
Right,
we'll
yes.
just do it. We'll just do it every year.
How's it going, sir? Happy post-Thanksgiving and all that good stuff.
Happy May's victory.
Yes.
Happy belated Thanksgiving. No, it's things are going well here, and still carried by the spirit of Ryan Day's past.
Oh man, I'm telling you, what a game. I went into the game nervous, and I went into the game nervous because, going back to Penn State and running the ball 32 times in a row, partly because we could, but I think also partly because we had to, because I think that second half, JJ definitely messed up that ankle a little bit, and
he was hindered. Yeah,
I think that carried over into the Maryland game, but I also think they maybe we're looking ahead a little bit. Those types of games are, you go Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State, even though the coaches and everybody's going to say, we're not looking ahead, they were looking ahead, I think, in my opinion, so to come out like they did. Oh, go ahead.
I was at the Maryland game, and it's a nice facility. It's a nice stadium. The people are good. No harassment of the fans, but yeah, I wasn't never nervous, but it just never seemed like they got into a rhythm.
Right. I'm with you.
It was mistake after mistake. It was letting them go on sustained drives. And I think it's always hard to see. It's like, okay, even since I was there in the mid '80s, we're a second half team. They go in and get fired up at the half and just kind of waiting. You saw that Saturday.
Yep.
And you just kind of waiting for that to kick in, and never really did. I didn't really ever feel the game was in doubt. the Maryland game, but yeah, it's just never felt. You walk away, it's like, oh man, they better be. And it's what we've said before in the show. It's like there are times they don't play a full 60 minutes of football.
Absolutely, I could not agree with you more there. And then we look at the Ohio State game. I think JJ came out pretty good. We didn't see the typical play action that we saw from him earlier in the year, which leads me to believe that ankle is probably still a little, impacted to some degree. Yeah. But,
and you can change the offense and still hit his strengths and still, go in and win a game. And that you're saying you were nervous going into the game. At what point did you stop being nervous? About 1 minute left?
Yes. Like I felt good at halftime, 14-10. I liked it. That's pretty much how we started the last two games with Ohio State. Right. Was close first halves, and then we just dialed it up the second half. And they kept it significantly closer than than they had in the past. And as we kept going on, I'm like, all right, we're gonna have that nail biter. I did not like Ohio getting the ball back with as much time as they did, knowing that, that extra point could give them the win. And then they just start marching. And then I'm like, oh shit. Are we going to lose by 1 point? You couldn't be too upset if that's how you lose. At least it's not like the 2007 game or whatever it was, where it was, 62-24, or, it was a hard fought game. And, that was like the first time that second half that they had gotten pressure on McCord. And,
that's what surprised me, was the lack of pressure that you really kind of saw through the first half and even parts of the third quarter.
Mm-hmm. So, but, he got hit good when he released that ball that was underthrown. And, thank God we got that interception, because if not, they still could have gotten the W. We don't know. They could have made some defensive stops, but I'm glad we are not talking about the what ifs. So.
And when you have an offensive weapon like Harrison, that's possible. That you look at the end of the Alabama. And you look at the end of the Alabama-Auburn game, it just took one play to really turn that game around, and we could have seen the same thing with Harrison.
Absolutely. And I got the big thing for me is it's like, and I'm curious any realignments that we may get within the Big Ten with the expansion of the Big Ten. This game obviously is the biggest rival in college football history. This game probably meant the most that it really ever has in terms of what it means for the rest of this year. And, now we got to go play a Big Ten championship game that, while, again, when I talked a little bit ago about, looking ahead, it's an assumption that Michigan's going to win this game, as they're opened right now. DraftKings has them as a 23-point favorite. But what interests me is that the over-under on the game is only 35.5. So we're only talking 12.5 points difference there. So we'll be taking the over for sure. But you look at that and it's like, you could still potentially lose that game, on a fluke, technicality, whatever the case may be. Yeah. Now you're out of the playoffs after just beating Ohio State. I wish almost that could have been the Big Ten championship game, because my God, what a game, a night game, Saturday night, Michigan, Ohio State for the championship, something we'll never see. And now, and they mentioned it countlessly during the broadcast, so I'd be remiss not to bring it up, with the playoff expansion, that game's meaningless, because either team that loses is still going to get in the playoffs. It's just a matter of the seeding at that point.
Well, it's funny because this is the second game, well, actually third game in a row, because I was at the Maryland game that I did not listen to the Foxcast. Okay. I synced up Jansen and the other guy, Doug, whatever, on the local feed on the iPad, and I can't listen to Gus Johnson anymore.
I hear you.
Joel Platt, very, very insightful. I just can't. So I didn't catch that part of the conversation. I don't know if it's meaningless. I don't, because you're going to go Michigan, Ohio State, and then you may actually have, the way the conference tournaments are going to wind up going next year, it's going to be 1 versus 2.
Yep.
And if say Michigan plays Ohio State, and then next year, say Michigan plays Ohio State last week of the season.
Yep.
Michigan wins.
Yep.
And then Michigan plays Ohio State again the next week in Indianapolis. Michigan wins.
Man,
I wouldn't think that a 2-loss Ohio State would be in the tournament, or would make it to the CFP, or you wind up having the team that loses in Indianapolis now gets bumped down, and then maybe you have Washington or Southern Cal.
Yeah.
Probably not Southern Cal, but maybe you have Washington or Oregon going instead.
Yeah, man, that would be rough. 2 back-to-back games like that. I mean, it's very rarely in football do you get back-to-backs, and that would definitely be a challenge having to play a high. I mean, either one, I wouldn't want to do it, either team.
No. But you would have, you would have that one. You have 2 weeks of prep.
Yep. But
in lessons learned. So
right, yes. All right, let's see here. Anything else college football wise before we turn over to NASCAR for a few minutes?
No, I'm good on football.
All right.
Well, I'm good on college football.
Yes, perfect. Yeah. Yes. Well, all right. So we got Ryan Blaney, our NASCAR champ. Kind of a mix of a Final Four, if you will. I know the season ended quite a few weeks ago, but it's still fresh in the mind. What did you think about how the last few races there to set up the Final Four coming out of Martinsville? Where are you at as the season is now, officially in the off season?
Well, one thing I'll say, I'm really glad that the weather did not impact anything towards the end of the season. It was a nice break for me, considering how the first half went. I'm not a fan of having the final at Phoenix. I'm just that dog leg and how everybody cuts it. And I understand that it is impacted. I'm just not a fan of racing there. I'd much rather either take it back to Homestead or. I know Atlanta's too much of a wild card now, with it being more of a super speedway than what it was. I'm just not a fan of the racing at Phoenix, so it doesn't taint it for me. But I think there are better venues for it. As for the winner, I think consistency pays off. I think Blaney's a very worthwhile champion. Some of the people that didn't make it this season were surprising, but that didn't happen in the vacuum. Sure. With Elliott and Byron not making it. Yeah,
that obviously that played a big role. Or Chase and Bowman. Yeah. I think that played a big wild card. For me, I want to go back to where the championship race should be at. I would be a fan if they brought up a rotation. I agree with that. I understand completely why Martinsville is the cutoff race going into championship. I would not be opposed to a Martinsville championship. I think
the factor there is going to be weather.
1 week away from just racing there? You think 1 week would make?
But I think I still think you have a higher risk of rain.
Fair enough.
Colder temperatures than you do in the desert.
Sure.
If you're going to have it anywhere, I would say it's going to be Vegas, Phoenix, Miami.
Well, I wonder if
my mind goes to Sebring.
Well, hey, I mean that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd definitely be good with a rotating championship. I know that's hard from a logistics perspective, and
not if you set it out in advance and just say, okay, 24 is here, 25 is here, 26 is here. We don't have the rest of the schedule set.
Yeah, but we
know.
Yeah,
but we know this.
Yep. What'd be cool is and it's not that big, but like you know, if there was almost like the bidding process for like the Super Bowl or something like that, like
True.
you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the same song and dance, you know. So it's not like it's a, you know, for example, if Homestead gets it, it's not like it wouldn't get it again for 20 years or until they rebuilt a new track like they do for, you know, the NFL and the Super Bowl and things like that. So,
right.
But,
no, I think there aren't a lot of venues you could have it at that you can will take away road courses.
Sure. Yes.
Well, we won't talk LA Coliseum.
No. No.
But it really does come down to Phoenix, Vegas, Miami. I don't think they'd want to do it in Atlanta.
No.
I think they love the racing in Atlanta, but it's not great. It's like having the finals at Talladega.
I think you could include Darlington in the mix potentially.
Yeah, that's a really good call. I didn't even think about it.
Honestly,
yeah,
I would.
That would be great.
It's probably another weather perspective issue, but from what the on track would give you, I think Darlington would be an absolute barn burner of a championship. I mean, first of all, you're talking one of the, you know, oldest tracks in the sport, you know, one of the most, you have to drive the track, you know, it's not a, you know, full, you know, it's one where you got to go out and earn it with the stripes. Right. That honestly would be my, you know, perfect world, you know, if we could put a weather vacuum and say, hey, we're not going to have any issues for 3 days. All right, we're going to Darlington.
I would take a chance with that. I definitely would take a chance with that.
Yeah.
You know, do you still have the Southern, you know, now we're getting bigger logistics. Do you still have the Southern 500 on Labor Day, but it's not in the playoffs? And then you have a playoff race there 2 months later.
Wow. I think you get rid of the, whatever the early.
Oh, you remember? You get rid of the early race. You don't do the May race.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
And then you do the Southern 500, not the playoffs, and you're back 2 months later.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure fans would go for that. I would love to see it. Or you every third year you make the Southern 500 the last race of the season.
Ooh, that'd be cool. I can get behind that all day long. Yes. No arguments for me there. All right. So something I'm doing with all of the callers on the show today is, you know, what are we talking about 2023? You know, we're down another champion caliper driver in Kevin Harvick next year. We've got some moves, you know, we may, you know, Byron or Bowman's back, Chase back, you know, barring any future injuries from anybody, obviously. What are we talking about? You know, the first few races into 2024.
Do the drivers that we saw, I hate to say dominate, well, to do really well in 22, but didn't in 23. What do we see from them? Larson, Chastain, Elliott.
Yeah.
Can Truex put together back-to-back amazing seasons?
Sure.
I mean, you'll look at the first 5 races and know what's going on there. What happens to SHR? I mean, they've kind of fallen.
Yeah.
They've kind of fallen apart. I hate to say fallen apart at the seams, but they've lost 2 drivers. They're bringing in Zane Smith.
Yeah. They're bringing. Well, the assumption is Noah Gregson is going to replace Eric Almirola, and Josh Berry's replacing.
Oh, Josh
Kevin
Berry.
Harvick.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. They haven't been a powerhouse team in a bit.
No.
What's going to happen next?
They haven't been a powerhouse since Kevin Harvick went on that tear 2020 COVID season, won 8 or 9 races and failed to make the final 4. That was the kibosh, if you will, towards to SHR. So, but
yeah. So, what do you think? What are your question marks for 2024?
My question mark is what happened. I mean, obviously SHR. You know, you've got a lot of brand new drivers, even though you've got, you know, returning veteran crew chief and Rodney Childers. Obviously, that will make a big difference. You know, we've seen John Hunter Nemechek dominate in truck and Xfinity. You know, how is that going to translate over into the 42 at Legacy Motor? He's driven he's driven in the Cup Series before, different teams, lesser caliber equipment, if you will. What difference and noise is he going to be able to make? Now,
I'm not going to say he's going to be the next Joey Logano, but the same thing happened to Logano. He got moved up too fast.
Yep.
He had to take a step back, and now he's stepping back in. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Logano, but I think that he wasn't ready to drive Cup when he drove Cup for
yeah. And the
front row.
The other thing for me is, we saw a great year out of Tyler Reddick. What kind of changes is he going to have, as well as, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. They had an incredible year with a few wins out of Chris Buescher. Brad Keselowski, had a phenomenal improvement to where he was his first year as driver, part owner. That Brad hasn't seen victory lane in a minute. Will we see him, and what emergence will they have as being a team that was, just a team that was in the garage to now, potentially, making some noise. So those are some of the things that I'm going to be looking for and looking at as we, get things going in February.
Oh, it's a short off season.
It is such a short off season. Yes. Let's see the countdown on the official Lapped Traffic website. We are officially, what are we at? 83 days to Daytona. So
there you go.
There we go. Well, sir, thanks for hopping on for a few minutes to talk some Big Ten football and all that good stuff. And hope you have a great holiday, Christmas, New Year's, all of that good stuff. And I'm sure we'll be texting in the very near future, sir.
Yes, we will. And thank you for the invite. Always great to be on the show. Looking forward to it, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all the festivities to you and yours. I'm sure. How many trees do you have up?
1, 2, 3, 4, just 5. Just five.
Just five.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
And I know you love it too.
Yeah,
you take care of yourself.
Thanks, man.
Like you said, we will text, and you take care.
All right, man.
Best for holidays.
Thanks, man. You too. We'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome.
See ya.
You will. Bye.
All right, Lap Traffic Nation, the Dr. Aaron Studwell. Always enjoy chatting with him. Okay, let's get to our first caller. He's very popular on Twitter with his takes, as well as his charity that he has trying to raise money for MS, which is awesome. Let's get Brian on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. He's been a follower and a listener for quite some time. He's been on the show a handful of times, and I am excited to welcome back. You can follow him on Twitter at StormanB81. What's up, Brian? How are you, brother?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for hopping on and helping wrap out another season of Lapped Traffic. So thanks for being here. I appreciate you.
No problem.
So let's start with this. So first, you and I actually have something in common, and that is that we are some very early Christmas decorators. I saw some of the exterior shots. Is the inside all done?
Yeah, the inside now. Yes, the inside. So the inside, it's funny. The inside all just has a tree.
Okay.
That's it. Christmas tree, that's it. Actually, my daughter says she wants to put some stuff in here. So I got a couple extra strands. So she's going to decorate her thing. But yeah, the back or the front, is well decked out as can be. Now, my father-in-law helped me because if I did all that, I'd be dead for like a week.
I hear that. I can't wait till Alden's old enough to help my ass do this stuff. Lugging up 30 bins of Christmas decorations and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, now I had a lot more inflatables, but some of them didn't make it and had to be retired.
I know that feeling. I've got one I got to put up. I have, I got it a couple years ago. It's the inflatable RV from Christmas Vacation. And
nice.
I didn't put it up last year because the outside was like classy. And I'm like, man, this thing would really trash it up. But my wife was like, she kept telling me to put it up. So I think this year I'm gonna I will definitely go out there and put that one up. I got to dig that out still, but
yes. See, now I have like a Chevy Chase there, like getting electrocuted. It's like an inflatable.
Oh, nice. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
But you can't really see it. Like the light is dim, so I'm going to see if I can go in, because I know the other inflatables, you could unzip it and get it. So I'm going to go in there to see.
Yes. Yeah.
If I can at least change the light, or we'll see.
Good
Hopefully.
Deal.
It still inflates pretty good. like Santa next to him's on the ground. The fan, like if I go out there and I can hit the fan a few times, it'll start back up. But just sometimes I'm like, I'm not even going out there.
Right. All right. Before we get to some NASCAR talk, let's do a little current sports talk that's going on. So you're originally from Connecticut, moved down to Florida, back to New York. Who are you rooting for these days? Because there's some strong teams in each region.
Yep. So I am well, we'll go with baseball because we're not going to talk much about that. But I am a Yankees fan. Always have been a Yankees fan.
Okay.
I grew up. Well, I shouldn't say grow up. I mean, I was like 14, but the core four, which I call them the core five, because I add Bernie Williams to that.
Okay.
And because some people do, some people don't. And I'm like, he was a very, a part of that, like great center fielder and everything like that. But yeah, grew up on the Yankees. I am a Giants fan, and if you didn't get that recording, well, oh well. But although we won so good. Even when we're horrible, we own Washington, so that's good.
Yeah, no, hey,
I am a Knicks fan, although that's sad at times as well.
Listen, the Pistons are the worst team in the NBA. The Tigers have been one of the worst teams in baseball. The Red Wings are maybe starting to turn things around a smidge. So I mean, I feel like we've suffered through some pain with our teams. That's for sure.
And the Rangers are off to a hot start, so I'm happy about it. We'll see. And it's funny because Mika's hasn't even scored yet. Like. And we're 12. We lost last night. We're 12-3-1. But hey, nice. Off to a good start. I mean, granted, you don't win anything in November, but right. You got to put yourself in position.
Absolutely. Hey, I mean, we see it all the time. One win, one spot on the track. One, there.
Yep.
It's amazing how many times we say that. Oh, you can't win now, but you know what? There are some times you'll look back and go, man. There is where it happened,
Oh yeah, and you always see it. There's always like three teams, that are always within a couple points of each other.
Absolutely. Well, as long as your Giants can, make sure you guys beat the Packers in December, because the Lions are inevitably going to lose a couple more, and I want to go to that home playoff game. So any help we can get within our division, I will take it.
Let me say this, okay? And I know it's the Vikings, you don't like that, but it was fun. You look at Dobbs, and he wasn't really that good with Arizona. You could blame the team, but to see what he's doing with Minnesota, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to make a run with it, but
to step in mid-season and not even have hardly any workout with the team, and to come out and do what he's been doing, I mean, it is. No, I'm with you. It's impressive. Like if he had the full team. Or I'm sorry, the whole season with them, or if he ends up coming back next year.
If Jefferson wasn't hurt either,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Vikings. You look at what the Vikings did last year. The Vikings, I think they had what they finish 11-6, 11-7, something like that, and they had the closest one-score games in the NFL out of anybody. Like if the scores would have been flipped, like they would have been one of the worst three teams, but they got lucky like 10, 11 times, and that's just the Vikings, what they do. And if they can, they got Hawkinson from us last year, who's starting to come into play. Like you said, Jefferson, if he was, I mean, the Vikings are going to be something next year. So I want to get everything we can this year.
And to add 2 more teams, UConn did win again last night, the men. So, that's been like the first championship I was able to celebrate in a long time. So,
nice. Yeah.
So I was happy with that.
All right, let's talk a little NASCAR. Your take. I mean, the season's over. What did you think of 2023? Any standouts? Anything you loved, didn't like? Where are you at in the off season here?
It got pretty good. Okay, we all know about the short track package, but I think it's getting better. They're at least working on it.
Yep,
it's getting there. Now, I know most people go like, well, you flipped. Yes, I flipped to Toyota. I went to the dark side because I think everyone for the most part saw my spat between Eddie DeHaan and myself.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. But hey, so I went with Tyler Reddick. Like, it's not like I went, and like Gibbs a little bit, but it's like I made a change, and I did, and I'll admit that. And there was some personal belief things in there,
sure.
And it is what it is. But I think, okay, now and this isn't against Elliott at all. And I know he was injured; he was suspended for a race too.
Yep.
But even still, if you told me that the 48 and the 9 would be non-existent. Especially with the season that Kyle Larson and William Byron had.
Sure.
And I didn't even know Chase was in the Phoenix race until he was getting lapped. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep. Like, how can you have 2 cars that are really good and then 2 cars that aren't even meh?
Yep.
Like,
well, I wonder, that's where, how much of it are they... obviously, if they had a shot to win a race, they obviously would have. But knowing that they weren't in the playoffs, obviously the focus was going to the cars that were in the playoff field. And I wonder how much stuff they were doing and testing for next year. We all know testing isn't what it used to be in terms of whether it's team funded to go out and do what they want. And the number of things that NASCAR sanctions with very few tire tests and things of that nature. That's a time to go and see, what may or may not go into play for next year, I wonder.
Oh yeah. And I think that's what you look at. I think a few people did that Phoenix.
Yep.
And I think even a few races, because even once, Joey Logano was out, even he was like, some races you're like, all right, whatever he's using, scrap that.
Right. Yeah. That's not going to work. Yes.
So, and there's another one. Okay. Ford won the championship, but minus Ryan Blaney. Okay. Logano made the playoffs, but even still,
Yeah. He was not the Joey Logano that we're used to seeing. That's for sure. He had one win. Let me see. I'm going to suck up some time here as I type in Joey Logano here on Racing Reference. And let's see here. He had one win this year. He had 4 wins last year. He had 1 win in 2021. He's typically a multi-race winning, season is for him. So he definitely underperformed, which is something we're not used to seeing out of him. Go ahead.
Ford as a whole. I mean, minus RFK Racing, which, it's great to see them.
Yeah. I mean, they turned it up, when we look at their performance the first year, obviously, we go back to Roush Fenway Racing and the struggles that they've had since, the early 2000s, it feels like, they first year with Brad, it was what I expected anyways. I didn't have high expectations. And to now turn it around, multi-win season, both drivers make the playoffs. Brad struggled a little bit, but to see Chris Buescher do what he did, I mean, that's remarkable.
Yeah, and even still to say, Brad, struggled. He made it deeper in the playoffs than I even thought, without winning.
Yep. Well, and that's
Which I
funny
think-
because I say Brad struggled, but that's because my expectations for him increased as the season kept going on because they did turn it up so much from the previous year. Oh, he had one top 5 in 2022. He had 7 top 5s in 2023. We're talking 6 top 10s in 2022, 16 in 2023. He finished 24th in the standings his first year at RFK and finished 8th in the standings this year. I mean, that's leaps and bounds of an improvement of just having that caliber of experience in the garage for an entire season and having the team, lined up the way he wanted to have things structured. And, if he goes from 24th to 8 in 1 year, could we be talking about Brad Keselowski in a Final Four next year? I wouldn't count it out.
Oh yeah, like he got you. And here we'll bring up 2 drivers. Okay, we already brought up Brad making him the final 8.
Yeah,
he didn't even have a win.
Yep.
But then also to see how crazy this was, you also had why the name just you have Bubba Wallace in there too, and heck, he didn't even really have any playoff points.
No, he had 0 playoff points because of where he was the 15th or 16th, so no stage wins, no race wins. Yeah, yep.
And he even made it there. But this shows right there that they didn't get the wins, but they were up there, with the finishing positions.
Absolutely.
Now, of course, let's face it. If you don't have any wins, you're not going to make it.
No.
Yes, you can still point your way in, but if you don't have any wins all season, it's going to be very hard without winning to make it to the championship 4. But still, this is only 3rd year of 23-11.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I am with you. Brian, it's a big time for your fundraiser. I know you've kind of kicked that off. Tell everybody what you're doing, how much you're trying to raise, and where everybody can go and support.
So last year I raised $10,200 some odd dollars.
That's awesome.
So this year I want to try to do get over $15,000. Now I got a couple things going on. Actually, if you want I still got 5 squares left as of this right now. But that'll probably be filled up quickly. And I do other stuff. But if you go on my main page, usually on one of my pinned tweets, now I'm at Storming V81. Usually one of my pinned tweets is something, because I'm always doing challenges. I'll have my hair, my eyebrows, my goatee, orange glitter. My daughter's going to enjoy that. And like I said, that goes through. Actually, it's going to be longer this year because I'm doing the walk in Syracuse this year since I moved up there, and it's April 21st or 22nd is the walk. So I'll do that, So I have another month. So that's why a little bit more too. But if you followed me for a while, I do some crazy things with it and have fun with it. And at the end of the day, it all goes to a great cause.
Awesome. What game is the square for?
It's for the Dallas Washington game, the 4:30 game.
I will take $10, $20?
$10 a square. $5 to the thing. $5 to that.
I'll take 2 of the 5 that you have left.
All right.
There we go.
And then we'll do the 3. And like I said, once the Super Bowl comes, I'm going to do it again for the Super Bowl.
Awesome. I love it.
I figured I'd do last year I didn't think about it in time, but
yeah,
I figured we'll do it for both because everyone loves the squares.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. I'm in a season-long one with the Lions. Me and my buddy got 2, and there's only 25 people in it, so there's 75 blank squares a game. So there's a lot of rollover. So it hit the first week, and then it hit last week. So there was a nice pot someone collected, and I'm hoping to see another big one build up and see what we can do there. So
nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I tell you what, really quick. So we're on the subject of squares.
Yes.
All right. So I was in a squares one where squares. So I do it different here. I do it, end of quarter, end of half, end of third quarter, final score.
Yeah.
I was in one where it was $20 a square.
Yep.
And it was after every score.
Oh wow.
And then whoever had the last score gets the rest of the money in the pot.
Wow.
Okay. So, and I don't even remember the score now, and I'm not going to look it up, but whatever it was the Patriots and it was Seattle. And you know where I'm going with this.
I do know where you're going with this.
Okay. They're on the 1 yard line. It's first and goal.
Yes.
If they get the touchdown,
yep,
and they kick the extra point,
yep,
those are my numbers, and I'm like, I got it in the bag. And then I saw it throwing, and I saw it even beforehand. I'm like, this isn't good.
Yeah,
I mean, it was only a couple yards because they're on the 1 yard line, so it wasn't in the. And I'm like, this is really going to happen. And then it happened. I'm like, this really happened. I would have won $800 somewhere around.
Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy.
Thanks to because they had the best running back in the league at the time, and they
chose not to use
even if they didn't get the first 3 times on fourth, you're going to probably run it you're going to really run it anyway because it's the Super Bowl and it's end of. Yep.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's hell of a story.
I cried myself to sleep that night.
Man. All right, let's wrap with this. Lap Traffic Fantasy was not your friend this year. Are you going to come back next year and make another run at it?
Yes. Well, of course I am. And
Excellent.
I always have that thing. Like actually, I was doing pretty good at the beginning of the year. And then forget it. Then I couldn't even make a pick to save my life. Even I was joking around with those 200 points. That wouldn't even got me in the playoffs. Like I even did bad. And I know, even on the NASCAR fantasy game. Yeah, even with the NASCAR fantasy thing.
Yeah,
I did bad this year. I was actually really good for somehow reason on that last year, and then all of a sudden had a few bad weeks. But even that one, like 2 people who I picked, DNF'd, and I'm like, I can't, I had no luck this year at all.
Oh man. Well, better luck next year, as we say with a lot of things.
Yeah, Well, man, there's always next year. I'm already saying that with the Giants.
I hear you. Well, man, listen, thank you for coming on to help close out the season. I appreciate it. Hope you and the family have a great Christmas, great Thanksgiving, all that good stuff, and look forward to kicking things back off next year with everybody.
Oh, yeah, you have great Christmas as well. Well, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Then before we know it, it's going to be the Clash, and then...
Absolutely. We'll be around. We'll be here.
All
right, man. Take it easy.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks, man. We'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Let's take a break from the calls. Thank you, Brian. And let's do a little Lapped Traffic social media. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. If you've made it this far, leave a review as we are closing out another season of the Lap Traffic Podcast. And who knows, we might do a giveaway during the off season. We just did our big giveaway a couple weeks ago, and the winner has gotten their prize and tweeted that out, which is awesome. And I have stickers, koozies, and all that during the off season. They're free. All you got to do, message me, DM me, tweet me, whatever. Happy to get them out to you. So, all right, there's that. Let's get to our next caller. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, another longtime follower and listener. You can follow him on Twitter at Colin_with_cars. I think that gives it away. It is Colin. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, Brandon, what's going on, man?
Not too much, man. Listen, you want to know the bad thing? You can't hear what's playing in the background right now. So,
I think I have an idea, and I'm okay without that. So,
oh man. Well, welcome to the show. Let's start with that. We can get into the NASCAR stuff here in a few. Colin is a Notre Dame and Ohio State fan. He is the school down south. I am the school to the north. Lot to unpack this year. It's very, very interesting. What's the talk in Buckeye land as far as all of the shenanigans, we'll call it, surrounding Michigan right now?
I think shenanigans is a good word. I think the big thing that we've been hearing both on our local sports talk radio and just talking to coworkers and stuff is while we're looking at like our chances to beat you guys will be better without Harbaugh, it's more satisfying to beat you guys with him.
Sure. I totally understand that. Because my personal response would not be this, but a large portion of the Michigan fan base will use that if we do have to take an L, would use that as the excuse and the reason why. So I totally understand, no, I want everybody at 100%. I want the best of the best so that there's no excuses on either side of the coin. So I totally understand where you're coming from with wanting Harbaugh potentially on the sideline there.
Yeah, and last year you guys beat us, and it was such a tightly contested game in the first half.
Yeah.
And I really think that a lot of
like
Buckeye
what, 7-10,
fans,
10-7, something like that at halftime.
It was
last
something
year?
like that. Yeah. And then you guys ran away.
Yeah, yes.
And we had no chance. But I really think that having a chance to go against Harbaugh again and have the chance to try and beat him after all of that would be really satisfying as a Buckeye fan. But also, you guys, the Buckeyes won what, like the last 10 before that?
So it was you guys won 8 in a row. You won.
That's what it was.
You won from 2012 to 2019. There were a couple close ones. There was that double overtime one. Let's see, when was that? I have it pulled up here, right here. That double overtime was in Columbus back in 2016.
The game that never ended.
Yes. Yeah. You guys were number 2 in the country. I don't know what Michigan was going into that one, but it's that stretch. Well, and the thing for me is I go back even further than that, because that was that 8-game win streak. But you guys had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-game win streak from 2004 to 2010, so
yeah,
I'll even go, hell, I'm scrolling back up even further. We go back to 2001. Michigan has 1, 2, 3, 4 victories, so I'm going back over 20 years, as far as saying that you guys have owned this series for the last 20 years. Obviously I want Michigan to, I'm not going to be satisfied until I'm talking about Michigan 5, 6, 7 wins in a row to start to negate that 20-year stretch that you guys have had on us. But
and I totally get that too, because the other part of that is a rivalry is not as much fun to win when it's lopsided.
Right. Yes.
And I'm a Browns fan, is my NFL team. And so like this year we finally went up against the Ravens and the Steelers in back-to-back weeks and beat them both. And so the satisfaction that we got from that after just getting our tails kicked for decades is huge.
Yes. No, I mean, you as a Browns fan and I as a Lions fan, we have similar suffrage with that. And, the mere fact the Lions have a better road record than they do a home record, what? The Detroit, are we talking about the Detroit Lions? And
right,
8-2, I've had season tickets for 10 years, and this is the first year it's finally paying off. A buddy of mine's had them. Going back to the Pontiac Silverdome days, and has had them for over 30 years. And it's it's finally paying off. God knows what next year will be. So I'm I sold the Thanksgiving Day game just because we're going to be with family and all that kind of stuff. And boom, that's the playoff tickets right there. So with that money.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I will be rooting for the Lions come Thursday. So.
Excellent. Yes. The Green Bay Packers will we'll see what Green Bay team we get. That will be an interesting one. I mean, I don't know how we pulled that Bears game out on Sunday. It was ugly. It was scary. Like if that's how I mean, but good teams find a way to come back and win, and that's what they did.
That's Midwest football, though.
Yes. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's for sure. So, all right, man, let's talk about some NASCAR here. You are a Blaney fan, so congratulations on your fandom championship. I know that is got to be very exciting for you. Let's talk about Blaney here for a minute. So here's a guy that for the last few years, prior to this year, he only had 7 wins. We're talking a very consistent driver. Going to get you 1 win a year guaranteed, and he's going to be in the top 10. And to me, it kind of is like he came out of nowhere late in the season. Not the top 10s, more top 5s. Going into Talladega, he was below the cut line to advance, but he wins at Talladega, gets to the final 8. Going into the Martinsville win, he was 3rd in points. We knew we were going to have at least one person advancing to the final 4 on points. It could have been him, but he wins his way in. Didn't have to win the championship race to win the championship, first time in history. So break down, your take on Blaney's season this year.
Well, I think it started off with a lot of excitement. You're looking at the Daytona 500 where he seems to be a super speedway ace. And after coming so close with Austin Cindric last year, you really felt like maybe this year would be his year. And then it just kind of seemed like it started to slide a little bit at the beginning. And when he won the 600 and you knew that he broke his winless streak, you kind of felt like something might happen for him this year. Now, I didn't think a championship that early on, but I felt like he would get, maybe 2 or 3 wins on the year. We would see him in the round of 8, and he pulled out that big clutch win at Martinsville. And it was, you can ask my wife. I scared the crap out of our kids. I was yelling so loud, but
I love it.
But I never thought I would see the championship coming from him this early in his career. I didn't think that he would battle as hard as he did in the round of 8 to get here. He didn't seem like he was a pressure cooker type driver,
sure.
But I did, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I did think once he got to the round of 4 that he had every chance in the world to win the race and win the championship. He showed a lot of speed there in the spring, showed a lot of speed there last year. It seemed like if he could get to that round of 4, it was his to lose.
Sure.
And so now my credit card is crying and, all that stuff. So
listen, that'll tend to happen. When Harvick won the championship, and this is back when, they, I think, cared a little bit more about the memorabilia that they put out.
Yes.
The amount of mounted memories, autographed championship win plaques that I have of Kevin Harvick. I mean, here's the thing. So I've got 2. I'll text you a couple pictures from his from the championship season, plus random ones that I have of that. They don't make them anymore. You don't see them on eBay. Like, I'm either sitting on $20 worth of stuff or like $10,000 worth of stuff, and I'm curious because I even have. And I've heard some stories on this one just in some of the Kevin Harvick Facebook groups that I'm in. I have the 2014 mini replica cup trophy. And I have been told there's been as few as 10 of those that were produced and as many as maybe 50 that were produced. Either way, we're talking limited quantity. And I've never seen one of those listed to even have an idea of what that thing might be worth.
I didn't even think you could buy that.
So I bought it at Michigan in 2015. So it would have been June 2015. It was at his hauler stand, and I know exactly. I spent $300 on it, and my wife was like, "Are you effing kidding me right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but I mean, I have every race win from 2014 diecast wise, and I just had this masterful concoction of a display that I was going to center around this cup trophy now, and I'm like, boom, here we go. So no, that was long-winded, and I apologize about that. But so what Ryan Blaney stuff did you secure with the championship win?
Well, we got the championship hat, we got the championship shirt. You know, I had to get the race win die cast.
Yes.
And you know, all that good stuff. I'm holding off on getting the display case that has the little championship thing on it.
Nice.
You know.
Yeah.
But I think that would look real nice with that. I collect the die cast to all the races I've been to.
Oh, see, that's a good one. I like that. Yep.
Yeah, and I try to get the race win from all of them. Now I'm going like way back to my childhood and going, okay, which races were I at when I was like 7 or 8 years old?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
That's getting hard.
Yeah.
But I think getting a display case and maybe kind of building those around that championship car would be a great way to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. As we're talking here, I'm trying to see if I can find what the opening championship odds were for Ryan Blaney, around Daytona, and I don't even see him. You know, he's not even in the top 6 or 7 that I can see here. So if you would have placed a bet, Daytona weekend on the championship. We're probably talking a plus 2,000, maybe 2,500 bet right there, So that I
know I should have listened to Dale Jr. way back in February,
and that's what I love. Like, I mean, we had such a unique final. I'll say final 8 in terms of Blaney, Larson, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, but Tyler Reddick, obviously Tyler Reddick's turned it up, and he's had some wins over the years. Chris Buescher out of nowhere, Brad Keselowski out of nowhere. Like Chris Buescher to have 3 race wins this year, and you're going to tell me that Chase Elliott had 0? Man, nope, wouldn't have taken that bet. Alex Bowman. Now, granted, they missed some stretches there and all of that, but when you look at the drivers that had wins, over the last 2 seasons that didn't have a win or had multiple wins and only had 1 win this year, Joey Logano, it was a very unique playoff round that I think opened the door for some guys to go out and try and take advantage of, and Blaney was there to do it.
He was, and I will say that about the round of 8 this year. Is it really felt like every driver in that round of 8 deserved to be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not one of them was like, wow, how did they get there? Or like, man, are they really a round of 8 drivers? I would say everybody that got there deserved to be in the round of 8 after the season they had.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. Colin, what do you think some early headlines are going to be as we go into 2024?
Well, I think we're all going to have to keep an eye on how Josh Berry does in that 4 car.
Absolutely.
Stuart Haas just struggling. And Josh Berry, and right now all the silly season rumors over on Toby Christie and Jayski seem to say that they're thinking Noah Gragson will be going to that 10 car.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's going to put Stuart Haas up to the caliber where we kind of expect to see them. The last couple of years have really been painful as a Ford fan, watching Stuart Haas flounder.
Yes.
And your guy Harvick was the only bright spot on that team, which isn't news to anybody.
No. And it wasn't that bright over the last year and a half.
Yeah.
It's you got to wonder about the leadership. Honestly, Cole Custer, even though he's on the Xfinity side of things, he's got the Cup experience to where, I wonder if he provides some form of a coaching mentor type spot, especially racing in the Xfinity series with Noah and Josh Berry. That's the thing you look to. Who's your veteran that you can lean on? And while, Eric Almirola didn't have, the wins or the performance week in, week out, he had his breakthrough moments every once in a while, and just a guy that has been around for a while. So I'm sure he would have added some value to that regard. So, we're obviously potentially looking at, a setback rebuild. Noah can run. There's no doubt about that. A little disappointed in Josh Berry's Xfinity performance 2023. I don't know if maybe the move to Cup, these guys are race car drivers. They want to, anytime they step in anything, they want to win. So I wouldn't dare to say he was now just focused on getting preparation and ready for next year, because I know that's not the case. But you got to wonder if some of that and the spotlight stepping into Kevin Harvick's car, right? Like, that's a thing. They were not, first ballot Hall of Famer, like, that's some shoes to fill.
Spotlight.
Yes. So I wonder how much of that impacted the Xfinity performance, because, we're talking someone that didn't get any, didn't win, didn't do much in 2022 or 2023 in the Xfinity series. Now you're coming into a spotlight car in the Cup series. Obviously he's, hell, anybody can go out and win the Daytona 500, but, once we settle into our intermediates and things like that, curious to see his adaption rate, if you will.
Yeah, and I don't want to make excuses for Josh Berry, but Junior Motorsports at the beginning of the year was pretty non-existent. I know they said that they were struggling with some of the rule changes that they made in Xfinity.
Yeah.
And you didn't see Allgaier performing, or there were a lot of collisions between teammates, and they really, really struggled to start the year.
Yep.
And then he had the announcement, and maybe he had a bit of distraction going forward.
Yep. But yeah, no, that's what's going to be fun for next year. We got a lot of changes, both hopefully with our short track package. Where obviously the retirement of Harvick, Almirola, Justin Haley's moving. We got John Hunter coming in. There's going to be some new faces in the Cup garage, and that's what'll be fun. Will we be talking about a same unique Final 8 in 2024 like we are right now, recap in 2023, which is possible. We tend to see these guys that some of these guys have potentially peaked. I'll never say Kyle Busch has peaked, because that guy is just a monster and a beast. But so it'll be his call, just like it's been for Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, when he decides to step away. But he's probably closer to that. He's got, excuse me, the amount of races that are behind him are probably greater than the number of races in front of him as far as the Cup side of things. So, we're going to start to lose a few more, I would think, over the next couple of years to retirement. And we got some fresh blood coming up through the ranks, which is going to be fun to watch, see these guys develop.
It will be. And my hot take for 2024 is, with the new Mustang coming out, the new Camry coming out, and then you have all these new fresh blood, I think we're going to see 15 or more winners again, just like we did last year.
I would absolutely love 17. Come on, Colin, not 15. There's 17. Oh, well, listen, man, thank you for coming on the show, and this will get posted after the big game this weekend. So we'll see how this reacts once the game happens and this gets posted. So
yeah, we'll have some fun on Twitter, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, have a great Thanksgiving and Christmas. Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon. And thanks for helping close out the last show of the season.
Absolutely, man. Happy holidays.
Thanks, man. You too. Take care. Well, Colin, that did age well for me anyways. So go blue. Go blue. All right, let's keep things rolling. We got two more calls for you. Let's talk to Scott next. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. He too, longtime follower, longtime listener, which is awesome. I love the following that this thing has developed over the last 7 years. You can follow him on Twitter at 1985 Wagner. It is Scott Wagner. What's up, brother? How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Just making it through to the holiday here. Working on getting the Christmas lights up for the wife, make her happy since we couldn't do it last year because of the house fire and stuff. So.
Yeah. That's it's an old coworker. They had an electric fire, and they were told like it'll be a year before they're back in the house. Like that. That's some crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, we were out from April till we got back December 1st last year, and I just looked there and said, "No, we're not hanging it."
Did you put a tree up last year at least? A little Charlie Brown one, maybe?
No, we didn't even do that.
Oh, good times. What do you got going on for Thanksgiving?
Well, mother-in-law's coming into town, and the kids will be over, and my brother will come over and stuff. So
okay,
the nieces, nephews are everywhere else. So
yeah,
they're spending. One's engaged, one got married, so they'll spend Thanksgiving Day with her in-laws, and the other nephew, he's in Colorado, and his fiance's dad's coming out to Colorado to spend Thanksgiving with them. So
okay, yeah, Thanksgiving's like small for us, mainly because we used to go to the Lions Thanksgiving Day game, and now with the little guy, you know, he ain't ready for that environment yet. So we sold the Thanksgiving tickets, which is, you know, going to help towards the playoff tickets that I'm hoping to have to buy here. And, you know, so it'll be small over on this side, my sister, brother-in-law, and in-laws. And then Christmas has always been big for us. That's when, you know, the families and extended families all come on over just because of how crazy the house is decorated and all that good stuff. So it'll be small, which will be nice. You know, I'm gonna do the turkey a new, different way on the smoker. I'm gonna spatchcock it and see how that comes out, and you know, mess around and do a little trial before Christmas.
There you go.
All right. Before we get to the NASCAR talk, we got to do a little Big Ten football talk because you are a Big Ten fan, a Nebraska fan. Let's see. So, I mean, obviously the big talk of the Big Ten is the news surrounding my Wolverines and Jim Harbaugh. What's your take on it? What's your local sports radio station saying with Michigan and Jim Harbaugh?
So, you know, I really haven't seen that much about it. When I bought my new toy at the end of 21, I'm pretty much on Sirius XM, so I don't listen to the local radio stations.
Fair enough.
It's pretty much NASCAR and music and one comedy station. Since you know, Larry the Cable Guy is a Nebraska boy, so I got to listen to him.
I tell you what, man, the amount of time I haven't had Sirius for a minute, but man, the comedy stations, you know, like you catch the blue collar station, or you know, you get into those types of comedy bits. You know, it's Lindsay and I, we actually bought Tim Allen's doing a Detroit one-time show in February, and we bought tickets for that last week, and I am excited about that. I love stand-up comedy and listening to bits. It just helps you decompress and forget about things for a minute. So no, that's awesome. I forgot about those stations on Sirius.
Yeah, no, on the football side, you know, it's kind of like, well, you know, here we go with another new coach. You know, all the hype, well, he turned this team around and he turned the team around. And, you know, it kind of correlates like the old car and the next gen car.
Yeah, no
Everything's
kidding.
completely different. You've got nil now. You've got the portal. College sports is getting to be free agency 24/7.
Oh, it is. It is. Well, you know what I think they've done is they finally stopped pretending that it's not a business, and they finally stopped pretending like it's about the education. You know, now to be fair, some of the, you know, like your your navies, your air forces, obviously they put the importance on the education aspect of it to a degree. Still, I feel like maybe your Stanfords do to some degree, but the Big Ten, the SEC, ACC. Let's call it what it is. We're talking about a business and money and football and seeing who's going to go to the big leagues.
Yeah, because all the players have agents now, and those agents want to get a bigger paycheck every chance they can get.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. And I'm not. I know there's a lot of people that are on. Just like with NASCAR, which we'll get to in a minute, but, whether it's you're in favor of stages or you're in favor of playoffs or you want the old school point system, it's the same thing with this in terms of, people that think they should make money, people that think they shouldn't make money. For me, these guys are putting their bodies on the line. And, from that degree, I think they should be compensated. I don't have any issue with that. I'm just going to write, Blake Corum, for example, he got injured the game before the Ohio State game, and that probably hurt his draft stock and all for what? For Michigan to, get more money into their university with nothing for his injury, So I don't necessarily have an issue with it. Do you?
Since, so much of it's public universities, I'm sitting there going, for the most part, say average $70,000 for their room, their meals, their classes and everything.
Yeah.
They're already making more than a lot of people are,
Sure.
Playing a sport, getting a free education, which was the idea behind it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, it's kind of like you're getting $70,000 a year, and that's not enough.
Yeah. No, I listen. That's the other side of the story, right? Which I get that too. It's all on how you look at it, and I, like I said, that was my take. I that was my thought a long time ago in terms of, that's it's you're here for the education, quote unquote, but then you look at trying to think, I can't think, an entrepreneurship degree or something like that just to, make their way through the classes. Some of these guys do. Not everyone. There are some, it always blows my mind. You'll see somebody who's going into accounting or, you'll see every one of those random, quote unquote real degrees pop up when they're going through the offensive line or defense, whatever, and it'll say what their major is. And you see that every once in a while.
And it's pretty much, you look at what degree they're saying they're majoring in, and if that player is going to stick around or if they're gonna bounce.
Sure, absolutely. That is definitely a telltale sign. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, sports medicine or athletic trainer. You guys you want to be able to bounce, so you're not going thing.
Right. Yep. I love it. All right, man. Well, let's transition to a little NASCAR talk. Let's start with the car. We saw some improvements for sure across the intermediate tracks. Obviously, still have a lot of work to do as far as the short tracks, road courses go. Where are you at on, coming off of the season now that we've had a few weeks to let it all soak in?
The competition is still high. It's just amazing to see how many cars are still running at the end of the races and things like that. And for me, the biggest difference I see is, it's a road course. Well, Chase Elliott's going to win but when it comes to road course, when we went to this new car, Chase, it just he disappeared off the road course world.
Yeah.
So it just showed that, he was very good at driving the old body setup with the solid rear axle and everything else. He figured it out, where so many more people, with this independent and stuff, you can get a lot more from sports car drivers and everything else. And, now that everybody's been dabbling in the sports car stuff once in a while too, to gain experience. And I think that's where AJ Allmendinger's really shown, but it doesn't work. It hasn't helped him a lot on the ovals, but on the road courses. I mean, the Xfinity race, hey, I'll try this once. Hey, I won, there on the street course, because what's he drive? Independent rear suspension cars on street courses, on narrow courses. So that was just right in Shane's wheelhouse.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it was crazy. It's funny. I was talking with one of the other listeners, and that was something we were talking about in terms of, the Chicago street course, especially after watching the F1 Vegas and that debacle, which we can get to here in a minute. I had a much greater appreciation, even more than what I already had, for the Chicago street course. And, I loved the fact that somebody came in and ran it and won it. And, I know NASCAR, made some changes on the fly, and there's criticism to that, but it was a matter of, well, listen, can we get this in? The rain impacted things. I can't use last year or this year, whatever, however you want to call it, as my benchmark. I need to see it one more time in hopeful normal conditions. But based on the racing that we did see, as limited as it was, man, that was exciting. That was different. I don't know why we can't get that to correlate to the road courses here. But there was something different about that. And I'm hoping, we've got some testing coming up here in a couple weeks. I really hope NASCAR makes a swing. NASCAR's done some great things. We've made swings with the schedule. We made swings with the new car and have improved the intermediates. But, we still have some work to do, and let's stop with the Band-Aids and let's actually go try to fix some of this stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, I think, the road courses versus the street course, you look at the road courses, you got a lot of room to mistake, where the street course, you don't have mistake room.
Yep.
And I think that's what a lot of the problem was with a lot of the drivers, because they're used to, okay, well, I'll run SCCA, get some road course experience. Well, it's great. You got a lot of room to make a mistake, where when you're on a road, you don't have that mistake room. You have to be precise.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Let's see here. What do you think we're going to be talking about next year? We've got a lot of driver changes. We keep dwindling away from those big names. We look at who we've lost over the last 5 to 6 years, and Gordon, Johnson, Stewart. It may even be longer than 5 or 6 years, but man, time is flying. Kevin Harvick this year, Kurt Busch. When we look at the quote unquote big names that we still have out there, we've got Kyle Busch, we got Logano, we got Denny Hamlin. Chase Elliott's obviously going to be around a minute. William Byron, Alex Bowman. Those are kind of our upper echelon younger guys that we'll still expect to see. But man, that field of all those big names that we could have all rattled off, the top 20, top 25, 5 to 10 years ago, keeps dwindling. But that younger talent's coming up. What do you think about the future, at least, anyways, as far as the driver, the talent, and where we're headed in that direction?
With the technology, and the changing, which is great, because knock down a number of practices, because they've got the simulators. The manufacturers have sunk a lot of money into these simulators and everything else for the drivers. And does it save the owners a lot of money? Oh, I'm sure it does. Which, you don't have your one sponsor on one car.
Oh, yes. That's
you might be the sponsor at the All-Star race, and that was it. Other than that, you had the same sponsors the rest of the year.
Yeah.
The dynamic on the marketing side has changed so much that I think that's part of what helped with the next gen car was we need to get a constant so these guys can go out at any time and say, well, this is how much it's going to cost us to run.
Yep. Yep.
Well, we can put $200,000 in every car, and you got Colleague where oh, we can afford $75,000 a car, or, just as example for teams. But now everybody knows how much everybody else's car costs to build.
Sure.
That's what their motor agreement is or whatever.
Yep.
So, they know on that side it's a money deal. It's just how smart is the person with the, up there on the pit box with their high-tech wizardry. And
Absolutely. Well, and it's funny you mentioned the sponsor too, because, we look at, and I'll bring up some of the guys that aren't in the sport anymore. You look at Jeff Gordon and DuPont and Jimmy Johnson and Lowe's and Tony Stewart with Home Depot and, Office, the Office store I'm drawing a blank on. That was kind of a split deal there. You look at today's driver, look at what, Roush Fenway and those guys are, every other race, it's a different sponsor. And man, it's a different day and age from a driver responsibility to the sponsor. Jeff Gordon with DuPont, how many appearances I wonder he did, or fan things that he did for DuPont. He could knock that out a couple times a year and be good to go. But if you've got a new sponsor every other week, it's different appearances, different autograph signings, different this, different that. It is taking up a lot more personal time. Not just whether it's on the track at the track or on a Wednesday at a corporate event, things of that nature. It is such a different world from the single sponsor races like you were talking, or single sponsor seasons like you were talking about a little bit ago.
Money by not having to have all these people at the track, days earlier, longer times.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't get so lucky. Hey, You have time now.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. No doubt about that, man. That's for sure.
Nobody mentioned somebody on the pit crew or the pit box. They mentioned the drivers. So
yeah. Yep. What did you make it to any races this year or no?
Well, Indianapolis.
Yeah. So. What do you think about Indy? They're going to go back to the oval.
So I'm going to like it. I'm kind of glad they moved the truck. So I'm surprised they're running the Xfinity cars. I kind of figured if they go back to the oval, they'd put the Xfinity cars back on IRP, but
yeah,
they're them run on the oval, so that's a little different. I'm kind of glad they took the trucks and got them back out at IRP for that weekend.
Absolutely.
We drive out on Friday, so we'll get to the hotel and watch the truck race.
How far talk about that? As far as location from hotel to the track and all of that.
Oh, actually, for where we stay, it's not too bad. It's probably maybe on race day, it maybe takes us about a half hour to get back to the hotel.
Oh, that's not bad. How far from downtown Indy is the track?
I'm trying to think. It's probably maybe about 8-9 miles. Because one year the hotel we were using that closed, so we booked another one, and it wasn't the one we thought it was, and we ended up downtown. We were about 3 blocks from Lucas Stadium, but we just did get on the street and drive right out to the Speedway. So it was kind of nice.
That's not bad. The last couple of years I've been down to Indy for the Big Ten championship game. I doubt I'll be going this year, even if Michigan goes. But being with a group of guys, I'm at their mercy because I always wanted to look into at least go and drive and at least take a couple pictures at the facility, but have not made my way over there.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's neat. I know they closed the museum's closed now. So I think they said 2025 they're completely redoing the museum, and that was always kind of neat to go in and walk around, see what they had on display that particular year.
Sure.
So
yeah, cool. Well, good deal, man. Well, listen, thank you for coming on to the show to help close out another year of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Thanks for the support and always tweeting and, giving opinions and stuff like that for me to incorporate into the show. I appreciate that, and hope you have a great Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I love the progress on the Mustang pictures that you tweet out when I post the show. And appreciate all of that, man.
Yeah, you'll probably get pictures of Christmas lights because
excellent.
Make the wife happy so I can sleep with both eyes closed.
Well, and it's funny. My wife's been like, "Will you please take the monitor tonight?" And I'm like, "Okay, fine. You put him down. I'll take the monitor in case he wakes up." Like, I can't wait for that phase to be over. And we were through that. I felt like, but. I don't know. There apparently there's a 20 to 22 month sleep regression thing that we are definitely in right now, which is a bummer. And I cannot wait for us to get through this hump. But then it'll just be something else. But that's fine.
Oh yeah, go from what do they always call it, the terrible twos to the
twos. Oh, I'm sure. I think he's there now. This little boy, man. When he wants to throw a temper tantrum, he is definitely not shy about it.
I always laugh. I don't think the threes are any better, but the curtain climber phase in there too.
Yeah. But I tell you what, I love it. I can't tell you how many times a week, a day, I say, and my wife says too, yeah, he's a boy, whether it's from, licking the window to, just jumping and falling and free falling and just causing a ruckus, which I love everything about that. So I am A-okay with it.
You call him General, obviously he's headed for the Marine Corps.
Right.
So.
Yes, you got it. All right, man. Well, listen, thanks again. And again, have a great holiday, and we'll talk to you with season 8.
All right. You guys have a good Thanksgiving up there in Lower Peninsula, and hope my Huskers can win more games so I don't have to hear about we can still be bowl eligible stuff on the
I love it. All right, man. Take it easy. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Brandon.
Thanks, man. We'll see ya. All right. Let's get to the last call of the show and crank up the old wave around hotline. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, to close this thing out, which he does anytime he is a part of the show, he closes it out. He is the former voice of the Wave Around hotline that was retired a couple years ago. Welcome back to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Mr. Andrew Cancian. What's up, brother? How are you?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I am good, man. Hanging in here and just ready to close out another season of the Lap Traffic Podcast. You're one of the OGs, so I, of course, have to have you a part of this thing. So thanks for being here.
No, I appreciate it. I love when you call down to the bullpen and you say, get the closer ready, and here I am to close out the Listen Your Call-In show.
I love it. Well, speaking of the bullpen and all that stuff, man, I know you're a big Yanks fan. What's your takeaway from baseball this season?
As a Yankee fan, it was miserable, and I'm sure most fans like you are going to laugh and say an 82-win season is miserable, but
hey, listen,
that's what happens when you have an owner that would rather make money than field a competitive club, and that seems to be the case with most owners these days.
I hear you. Yes, no, it is it feels like, we talk about it in racing all the time, right? The haves and the have-nots, and the gap in baseball, I really feel is like there's 6 or 7 teams that are all in to go win, and then you have teams that are just fine with a 50% capacity crowd on a Thursday night selling $12 beers and $80 tickets. They're bringing their money in. They're getting their TV deal money. And I think that's when we may start to see a change in either teams are going to start selling owners, teams are going to start moving once some of these TV deals start expiring, whether it's from streaming and, there's going to be new avenues. And I wonder how that may impact things down the road.
Yeah, it sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's crazy how that happens.
Yeah.
I think there are some teams. I mean, it may even be the Yankees. Do they have their own streaming thing to where you can just watch all 162 games?
I think they do. I'm pretty sure they're the only professional sports team in the U.S. with their own regional dedicated TV channel.
Yes.
Obviously, I don't get that anymore, being relocated. But yeah, I mean, the Yankees make millions and billions off of the Yes Network that they use, and then they rent it out to the Brooklyn Nets too. So they're making money from that. And I think they have like these random little niche New York events. Like they'll televise like random New York marathons and half marathons. I'm like,
okay,
I don't know who the hell is watching that at 5:00 in the morning on a Saturday, but it must be profitable. Or they wouldn't be airing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or a filler spot, or someone that's coming home from the graveyard shift and just needs something on the TV. So
yeah, to help fall asleep.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, let's see here. Where do you want to dive in from a NASCAR side of things?
I don't know. I think we should just dive in on the deep end and see where the conversation goes.
Fair enough. All right. I wrote down 3 things and we'll see where it goes from there. Best race of the year.
I think for me, the best race of the year and probably one of the top 5 races I've ever watched was probably the Kansas spring race.
Okay.
You had great racing all day. You had the great battle at the end between Larson and Hamlin. You had the fight between Melon Man and Bowl Cut. You kind of had it all, and there was a lot of good talking points coming out of that race that wasn't, us complaining about rules and procedures and inspection process. It's like we were talking about the on-track drama that we have, which is always a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. Well, and for that to be one of the first few 1.5 mile tracks that we used to, I mean, I don't know about you, I used to complain about Kansas. Like that was one of the all right, it's May. If the Tigers are doing good, I can flip and watch that Sunday afternoon and I can bounce back and forth and I probably wouldn't have missed much other than some single file racing. That's not the case anymore at Kansas. That's not the case at a lot of the 1.5 miles anymore, which is good. We fixed that, but we still have some regression in our short track.
Yeah, I think that's where the problem lies. It's like, you kind of robbed Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of people like this new car, but I'm at the point where I'm like, well, the intermediate stuff is pretty good. I mean, we've got great racing. Obviously, like I said, at Kansas and, the Charlotte Oval's been good. And even some of the bigger tracks have gotten better, like Michigan, like Pocono, but there's still work to be done there because there's really still no off-throttle time. And after about 10 laps, you're kind of stuck.
Yep.
But the road courses are atrocious with a 5-speed transmission.
Mm-hmm.
The short tracks are atrocious, again, with a 5-speed transmission. And even for somebody like me that doesn't really care for speedway racing, the only reason why we see 3-wide racing is because it's become a fuel-saving game with the way the stages are laid out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like they're good if you look at it at face value, but when you kind of get the inside NASCAR, like, you, myself, and probably everybody listening to the show, you kind of like, it's more of a facade than an actual representation of how the package is racing.
Absolutely. Like when you have to change, I'll go back to your comment on the short or the road courses. They were so good, they gave us 8 of them. And when they had the correct package for them, I was okay with 7 or 8 of them. Like, yeah, it's great racing. When you get to the point of where you have to change your race format, and what I'm talking about there is getting rid of the cautions at the end of the stages to help improve the on-track performance so that it's not such a dead giveaway as to what everybody's going to do because they're going to come in with 2 to go in the stage. And it's, it got so mundane and so, all right, well, we know exactly how this is going to play out, who's going to qualify well to be one of the 5 cars that are going to be in victory lane. Yeah, that's something that, we got to fix.
Yeah, and then change it back for the playoffs. So
Yeah.
it's almost like they don't really know what they want. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I know what I want, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole of me being anti-stage kind of everywhere. But it's like you changed it, and some people were like, oh, good, now we're going to get the strategy back at places like the Glen, in Sonoma, where it's like, well, are you going to do a 2-stop strategy or 3-stop strategy? And that was kind of fun. And then they brought the stages back because the races got so strung out because the cars are over-gripped and underpowered.
Oh, underpowered. Oh, amen. Amen.
Oh, did I say that?
Amen. I'm going to go very hypocritical here with my race of the year. Because it may have had to do with a road course format, if you will, and especially after seeing some of the debacle from Las Vegas, it just made me appreciate Chicago and the street course race there that much more in terms of what NASCAR was able to do. In terms of the fact that, yes, they made some changes on the fly, shortening the race. I get all of that's not favorable from a fan perspective. But when you go back and you rewatch and you look at the on-course performance and racing that we did get, the excitement of an outsider coming in and winning, I look back as one of the best races of the year, knowing that race is only going to get better going forward.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I actually have that as down as one of the races I'm probably going to be rewatching here in the off season.
Yeah, no,
and I'm excited to kind of hopefully get a second year of that race with better weather.
Yes, we have to. We need you can't. Yeah, you need a good measuring stick. You need that. You need the baseline without the outliers and interference to be able to know what it truly is or could be. And you can't use what we got this year as the measuring stick.
Yeah, I mean, for a while there, I thought Jim France was going to just start building an arc and taking 2 cars from each team to save. That's how bad the flooding was.
Right. Yes.
Historical and biblical at the same time.
I love it.
And it's a shame for all the fans that spent a lot of money to go there. I saw the ticket prices. I was like, man, that's crazy how much the prices were.
Yep.
And they got none of the concerts,
right.
Which is kind of a big bummer there.
Yep.
So, yeah, hopefully with better weather and what everyone learned was done well and not well, it could be a better show for year 2. And obviously we have the test coming up here in a couple of weeks at Phoenix. I think they're testing some things for the road courses and short tracks. So we'll see if that's going to help the product at all. We'll see.
Absolutely.
To be determined.
Did you watch any of that F1?
Believe it or not, I watched the whole thing.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I get home from work at 1:00. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of perfect. And I'll probably sit down, pour myself a drink, and fall asleep.
Yeah.
And I did all of that except fall asleep because it was actually a pretty decent race.
Yeah, the racing, the passing, a lot of the start was a little cluster, but it definitely got a little bit better. I got the biggest kick out of watching the construction aspect of it and the amount of security that they had. For those that haven't been to Vegas, the massive crossovers and the bridges of trying to keep traffic moving and people, not standing still, trying to take pictures and video. And the ticket pricing for this thing was outrageous, but then they couldn't sell it. So the hotel rooms went from like thousands of dollars to, $250 and ticket price. Like it was, from that side of things, that was a cluster. I don't know anybody that was there for it to be able to gauge their opinion on what it was actually like to be there for that. But I can't imagine that it was, traffic control was not good. People control was not good. That had to be very interesting if you were there in person.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's a very elitist sport, and I think that's where I kind of get turned off sometimes by F1 because It's like you're talking about like, oh, here's this great strategy, and a car comes into pit road. I'm like, can you explain to me how this is a good product? And then as soon as the car is done pitting, they show David Beckham recording the pit stop, and I'm like, I'm willing to bet 50% of Americans don't even know who David Beckham is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't need it told to me 400 times that Justin Bieber is waving the checkered flag.
Right.
That does nothing for me.
Yeah.
I'm there strictly for the racing and the on-track product. The rest of the stuff is just
fluff.
Not. Yeah. It's not for me, the race fan, know, so.
Yeah. Let's see. Looking ahead, 2024, Josh Berry, Noah Gragson, John Hunter Nemechek. What happens with AJ Allmendinger? Lots of potential silly season stories, driver changes. What are you excited to see? Who flops? Who does well? Where are you at looking ahead?
I haven't seen the new Toyota yet, but I do think that new Dark Horse Mustang that Ford will be debuting is going to help them tremendously. They're not obviously going to come out with something that's going to hinder their performance, and obviously Ford's been behind now on the intermediate stuff for the past 2 years since we've debuted this next gen. So I think you'll probably see some more competitive Fords, especially with Penske. With Logano and the Blaney, the reigning champ, but they kind of, with their calling cards, were the short tracks. So we'll see if that actually affects what they do at those kinds of tracks. And especially for Ford too. I mean, there's some make it or break it years for some drivers in the Ford camp, like, Harrison Burton and Austin Cindric. I mean, they kind of have to start performing at some point to keep the rides that they're in. And obviously one might have a little more job security there for some nepotistic reasons, but even then, I mean, Cole Custer got demoted to the Xfinity Series and won a championship, and I'll probably be back in Cup here in the next couple of years. So that's probably one thing I'll be watching. And obviously, as a homer, I'm going to be watching my guy to see if he can bounce back from a winless, injury-plagued, suspension-plagued year.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, Chase Elliott and Jim Harbaugh kind of feel like the same guy right now. I feel like between suspensions.
Yes.
Yes. But
that's accurate.
You look at Austin Cindric, 79 races through 2.5 years, 1 win, six top fives through 79 races. I mean, that's, you expect more out of that number 2 car, whoever is in it. But yeah, we gotta, and I'll make the joke sometimes of, well, is it a Paul Menard situation? And this is even a little different than Paul Menard's funded ride that he had. But yeah, you'd like to see some some more better performances out of that number 2 car.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think with some of these the new crop of drivers coming up, I feel like 100 is about that magic number. When you hit start 100,
yep,
that's kind of when your career starts to take off. Yes. I mean, that's about that 90 to 100th when Larson and Elliott and
I was just going to say, wasn't it like
all got their first wins?
When did Chase get his? It was right around that 100 mark, I feel like.
I want to say it was like 99 or something. The 9 was wild, I think, with the way the numbers worked out for that. But even Larson, I think he got his first win around like 95, and Byron was like 101 or 2. So, there's still time for some of those guys to have that breakout. So
yeah, no, for sure. Let's see here. I have it pulled up here. Chase Elliott got his first win 2018 Watkins Glen, which was race number 22 plus 77 before that. Yeah, his 99th race, He got the win.
And I think that's when Bill got his first win too. So
yes.
Like I said, the 9th were wild.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's you got to love the irony in the numbers game in some of these things, the way they work out. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Darrell Waltrip's Daytona 500 came in the 17 car on the 17th of February in a 17th try as well. So sometimes you just can't make this shit up.
I love it. All right. Stewart Haas Racing, some changes there. Josh Berry, Noah Gragson, regression year. What can't expect too much out of the Josh Berry in the 4. Got to give him some time. But I think Stewart Haas thought they had things lined up pretty well with Cole Custer. And like you mentioned a little bit ago, regression to the point of, the demotion. But that championship that he, raced for when we were talking about the big three a few years ago with Tyler Reddick, Cole Custer, and Christopher Bell. All three of them, out there winning 7-8 races in the Xfinity Series, came up short racing for the championship, struggled Cup, goes back, picks up the championship win in the Xfinity Series. Stewart-Haas is an interesting camp right now. That's, I guess, where I'm going with that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people saying that what SHR is doing now is similar to what Hendrick did, a few years ago when they lost, Casey Kane and Gordon and Jr., I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But they still had Jimmy Johnson in the camp to help kind of guide the ship there for a few years when they had Bowman and Elliott and Byron. When they were all not the established stars and champions that they are now, but
sure.
Stewart-Haas doesn't really have that guy right now. And it seems like when Harvick left, they were on the downturn. Whereas when Johnson left Hendrick, that was in 2020, I think.
Yep.
And they won back-to-back championships in 20 and 21, and they've put cars in the championship four ever since. So I think Stewart-Haas really misread the room last year when they failed to sign Tyler Reddick. And for as much ish as I like to give Denny Hamlin, I mean, kudos to him for reading the room and the free agent market properly for locking him up as early as he did.
Yeah.
Because now it's like you're kind of looking at scraps, and no offense to Josh Berry, but he's a 31 or 32-year-old rookie in the Cup Series, and it's not the 80s or the 90s anymore. So he's definitely a unique case, and we'll see if those the skills that he has translate to Cup. He still has Rodney, and Rodney's probably the best crew chief in the garage. So
yeah,
it's going to be fun watching two short trackers work with each other here for the next year.
Do you think that's a seat? I didn't look. I don't know even if they announced the contract length, which obviously, that can be shorter, long, whatever the case may be. I wonder if that's more of a filler spot, for a year or two to either see if Cole Custer can make the transition back, or to see if they can, go and steal somebody for the number 4 spot. I wonder the longevity behind that, because I was thinking that too. The times of a driver starting to make the name for themselves in their 30s, far and few between. I love the Cinderella story of Josh Berry, dominating in the Legend Series and things like that he used to run, getting that win at Martinsville. I mean, I love the Cinderella story behind it, but just looking, as an objective fan, longevity wise in that seat, I wonder what that reality will look like.
Yeah, I do too, but I guess you could kind of say that for all their drivers right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Preece is the same way, and it hasn't been announced yet, but all signs are pointing to Noah Gragson driving the 10 car.
Yep.
And Chase Briscoe is the only guy there that's got to win.
Yeah.
And they were out to launch all of this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, I kind of forgot Chase Briscoe was even in the Cup Series at this point.
Yeah.
With how bad they ran. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it would be great for them if they can go out and sign somebody. And if these guys don't become available, they're elite for a while. Elite free agents for a reason, a Keselowski or a Logano or a Kyle Busch, or somebody young like a Tyler Reddick or, even Eric Jones.
Yeah.
Kind of surprised they didn't try to pry him, and maybe they did and things fell through. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
someone just to give that mentor type role, to keep everybody reeled in, dialed in during the Monday morning drivers meeting at the shop kind of a thing, Right.
And they're going to be missing that with Kevin Harvick,
Yep.
None of those guys, no offense, but, they don't have the career starts that somebody like Harvick does to sit down in a competition meeting and say, hey, these cars suck.
Yeah. Here's what we need. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. This is what we need, and this is why we need it. They don't have that. So who knows? Everyone there is talented, and for all we know, they could all have breakout seasons at once. So who knows?
And this will not have aged well.
Exactly. You can mark this down and see if it ages well or not well in about a year.
Yes. All right, man. Well, let's wrap with this. You made some headlines earlier this year at some of the races you went to with the infamous famous Denny Hamlin sucks.
Famous. I don't know about infamous.
Denny Hamlin sucks shirt. I mean, sometimes you don't fix what isn't broken, and it's the simplicity behind it, the way it stands out. I mean, do you change it? Do you make a version 2.0 for next year's races? Where are you at with that?
I have actually been thinking that. I'm like, do I just keep this simple, very obviously cheaply made shirt? Do I go with something different? What I kind of want to add to it, I kind of want to buy like an old vintage, like Dale Jarrett UPS ball cap. I think that would be funny too.
That'd be great.
If not, I'll just have to rotate these like 40 hats that I'm staring at right now.
That, or you do something like UPS is better than FedEx on the back of the shirt or something like that.
Well, I don't know if I told you this, but I'm finally starting to get some of my 2023 diecast. Finally,
right? Yeah, it's how convenient of them to start producing and shipping.
Yeah, finally. And I got the Chase's patriotic car that he wrecked Dennis with at the Coke 600, and it shipped UPS. I'm like, you can't make this up. You really can't. If I tried.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for hopping on to close out another season of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, great Christmas, all that good stuff. And before we know it, we'll be talking, racing, lap traffic fantasy all again next year.
89 days to go, my friend, until the Daytona 500.
I love it. All right, brother. Thanks so much for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for Season 7 of the Lap Traffic Podcast and episode number 326. Huge thanks to everybody that called in. Aaron Studwell, Brian, Colin, Andrew, Scott. Appreciate you all. And, of course, a huge thank you, as I do every year to close out the season. Huge thank you to my wife, Lindsay, because without her and her support of this wouldn't happen. So I hope everybody has a great holiday, Christmas, New Year, all of that good stuff. We'll catch you back here in the beginning of the year with news on the new Lap Traffic Fantasy League and so much more. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya.